first contact. The Zenthri had cataloged 10,000 worlds, each more predictable than the last. Civilizations rose, burned bright, then faded under the weight of their own hubris or a supernova's indifference. But Earth was something else. Commander Threx loomed over the holoscreen in the Varkanatha's observation deck, four of his eye stalks twitching in mild concern. The planet below spun innocently on its axis, swathed in clouds and blue oceans. Primitive biosphere. Oxygen-rich. Sentience just barely post-industrial, muttered analyst Varlo, sifting through data. They call themselves humans. Short-lived. Fragile. No natural armor, claws, or psionic abilities. Yet they've detonated over 2,000 nuclear devices on their own soil. Added Subcommander Karat, her voice sharp. That's not survival instinct. That's psychosis. Threx folded two of his limbs behind his back. Perhaps it's ritualistic, a form of planetary bonding. Varlo turned. Sir, they aim those weapons at each other. Constantly. They've narrowly avoided global annihilation multiple times. Threx hummed, a low vibration through his carapace. Fascinating. He motioned to the central display. Images from Earth's broadcasts flickered across the screen. Grainy black and white war footage, violent sports, a movie trailer with screaming humans fleeing some giant lizard-like creature. They create visual fictions about being hunted, whispered Karat. For entertainment. Threx rotated one of his eye stalks toward her. Hunted by monsters of their own invention, yes. And they pay currency to witness it. Willingly. A heavy silence settled over the bridge. It gets worse, Varlo said. He tapped at his console. They consume psychoactive stimulants daily. Caffeine, alcohol, even chemical depressants. Entire sections of their culture revolve around willingly altering their own neurochemistry. Why? Threx asked. To make reality more tolerable, I believe. Another long pause. Karat cleared her throat. Perhaps we should abort the observation. But Threx's curiosity burned too brightly. No, we will initiate a Tier 2 surface contact. Observation only. Choose a remote subject. Something unremarkable. A baseline human. They found Riley Evans in a farmhouse outside a quiet Nebraska town. 16, slightly bored, and prone to long walks in cornfields while talking to herself, she was the perfect candidate. No global influence, no weapons training, no strange mental patterns. Average grades. Liked drawing dragons in her notebook margins. Occasionally posted memes. Unaware that 3 Zenthri drones hovered invisible in her bedroom corner. Riley flopped on her bed with a bag of chips and turned on a horror movie. It was called The Butcher's Smile. Subject has elevated heart rate, one drone noted, yet remains stationary. She's watching alone, the second observed. In darkness. She is smiling. 10 minutes in, a jump scare sent a human victim on screen into a screaming frenzy as the monster carved through a door with a circular saw. Riley giggled, took a sip of soda, and whispered, "Oh, come on, open the closet already." Drone 1 shivered. She predicts death and craves it. Perhaps she is an anomaly. The drones sifted through her social media. Photos of her posing next to Halloween skeletons. A TikTok of her pretending to be a vampire. A story she wrote in middle school titled, How I Would Survive a Zombie Apocalypse. It had illustrations. They cross-checked her with her peers. Riley, it turned out, was disturbingly normal. Back aboard the Varkanath, the team held a midnight council. Perhaps, Threx ventured, we misunderstand them. Varlo's mandibles clicked. Commander, they sleep for 1/3 of their day and still have energy to destroy everything. They invented gunpowder before antibiotics. Their planetary climate is collapsing, and their leaders are arguing whether it's real. They invented tiny machines that show them the sum of their species' knowledge, Karat added, and they use it to argue about who would win in a fight, a bear or a gorilla. A bear, said Threx absently. Stronger by force. Karat gave him a long look. You see? It's contagious. Enough, Threx said, holding up a limb. Their madness has a method. Consider, they lack biological weapons, mind links, or energy fields. But they've conquered most of their biosphere, built metal birds to fly, probed their own planet's core, flung machines past the edge of their solar system. They fear, and yet they act. Sir, Varlo said quietly. Our empath attempted to link with a sleeping human subject. She's in medical stasis now. We're calling it the madness field. That gave Threx pause. Perhaps it was time to stop, to mark this world as dangerous. Leave a buoy warning future travelers. But something about them, these humans, itched at his mind. Something ancient, something familiar. Down on Earth, Riley finished her movie, scrolled through horror memes for an hour, and fell asleep clutching a stuffed velociraptor she'd had since she was 5. Mission log final entry, one drone whispered. Subject consumed 200 grams of sugar, laughed at simulated murder, then entered a vulnerable sleep state without securing perimeter. Apex predator behavior, another replied, or complete madness. No one was sure which was worse. The petting zoo effect. The Zenthri had a phrase for it now. The petting zoo effect. It began with an innocent observation. Humans kept predators as companions. Creatures with fangs, claws, and primal instincts. Animals that most sentient species classified as hazardous fauna. Humans named Fluffy and let sleep in their beds. Dogs, wolves, big cats, even snakes. They tamed them, trained them, gave them birthdays. One human, an internet personality named Jeff the Lizard King, had domesticated a 6-foot monitor lizard and let it ride a skateboard. This is not rational behavior, muttered analyst Varlo, reviewing footage in the research chamber. This is either supreme confidence or complete delusion. And they allow their offspring near these creatures, added Karat. Encourage it, even puppy therapy. It's madness packaged as affection. Commander Threx floated slowly past the screen, eye stalks narrowed. Perhaps it is a survival tactic. Camouflage. Pretend the world is not dangerous, and it ceases to be. Or they simply don't care. The ship's AI compiled a report on Homo sapiens sapiens, and it read like an interstellar horror story. No claws, no scales, no venom sacs. Born prematurely, with soft skulls and total dependence for survival. Yet they climbed to the top of their food chain. They crossed oceans in wooden coffins, climbed Everest in blizzards, dug into molten rock, swum with sharks on purpose. They attached rockets to their bodies and called it sports. In one data stream, a human intentionally jumped from the edge of space wearing only a suit and a smile. They are either fearless, said Varlo, voice barely above a whisper, or broken. The turning point came when a young telepath, Specialist Jarn, requested to probe a mid-level human consciousness, an adult male watching a war documentary while eating cheese snacks. What Jarn saw nearly ended her mind. She spent 6 hours in a containment pod, trembling. Her report was limited to 2 words. Layered violence. Not just conflict, but nested aggression. Memory atop memory. Childhood trauma, schoolyard fights, heartbreak, betrayal, poverty, hope, struggle, ambition, loss. Then fiction layered on top of that. Stories humans told themselves to explain it all. War heroes. Vengeful gods. Underdog survivors. She didn't reach his core self, Karat explained grimly. Just surface thoughts. Just casual memories. What would his deep thoughts look like, someone asked. No one answered. Still, Threx refused to abandon the study. Instead, he expanded it. If humanity was to be understood, it would not be through fear, but curiosity. If you want to know how a species so fragile could be so unstoppable, the AI pulled surveillance clips from around the globe. Firefighters charging into burning buildings. Surgeons performing operations during earthquakes. A grandmother lifting a car to save her grandchild. A group of teenagers laughing while storm chasing a tornado. They act like protagonists, said Karat, stunned. Protagonists? Threx asked. Main characters. In their minds, danger is background noise. Every one of them thinks they're the exception. Meanwhile, the Zenthri High Council debated cutting the entire mission. Earth is to be flagged as a level 7 contagion world, the vote tallied. Psychological contamination risk is too high. Threx intercepted the decision, rejected it, quietly. because he was starting to feel something he'd never felt in a study before. Not fear, admiration. Late one-night cycle. Aboard the research vessel orbiting Jupiter's moon Ligia, Threx received a private transmission. Subject Riley Evans, said a voice from the shadows of the chamber, has been extracted from Earth. Threx turned, stunned. Who authorized? I did, said the voice. It belonged to researcher Clell, a rogue xenologist obsessed with human potential. We placed her in observation deck Theta. She believes she's dreaming. That's an egregious violation of first contact law, Threx snapped. And possibly the only way to truly understand them, Clell replied. You've seen the data, Commander. They don't react to danger. They dance with it. I want to know what happens when one of them wakes up inside the unknown. Threx's eye stalks twitched. How is she responding? Riley Evans sat cross-legged in a glowing chamber, surrounded by floating crystals and curious alien beings, casually eating what she guessed was space jello. So, this is a dream, right? She asked aloud. Clell watched her through a one-way screen. She displays mild awe, zero fear, and has asked if we can make her cat immortal. She thinks this is a dream? Threx asked. Clell nodded. And because she thinks it, she's completely unfazed. She told one of our drones, quote, "This is giving major sci-fi RPG tutorial energy." Riley spun in place, giggling as the gravity responded with a delayed bounce. Then she said something that chilled the room. If this isn't a dream, this is going to be so fun. Back in the council chamber, Threx wrote a single sentence into the official report. They are not fearless because they lack fear. They are fearless because they confront it daily and laugh. Riley, the harbinger. Riley awoke to the smell of ozone and a low, ambient hum that vibrated through her bones. Her eyes opened slowly, not to her messy bedroom ceiling, but to a dome of soft blue crystal arcing above her like a frozen sky. Pulsing lights danced across the surface, like starlight refracted through water. She blinked, sat up, looked around. She was in a hexagonal chamber. Smooth metal walls. A floating cube beeped cheerfully near her head. Gravity felt weird, like she was 2 inches taller. She flexed her fingers, wiggled her toes. Then she said to no one in particular, "Okay, subconscious. I see you." Behind a mirrored wall, Commander Threx and researcher Clell observed, as teams of analysts scribbled frantically. She believes she's dreaming, Threx noted again. Still, said Clell, 3 sleep cycles in, and she hasn't panicked once. No screaming, no attempts to escape. She's comfortable. She named the cleaning drone Roombot Prime, added an assistant deadpan. Threx watched as Riley got to her feet and started exploring the room like it was part of an amusement park. Have you introduced any variables? He asked. Clell nodded. We gave her a standard tour of the observation facility using a translation matrix. She was excited. Excited? She asked if she could try on our uniforms. And if we had space ramen. Riley walked alongside a floating drone as it guided her through the artificial environment. Trees swayed in controlled wind currents. There was a stream with pinkish water. Alien birds chirped melodically. This is like a Star Trek holodeck, but with a breath of the wild aesthetic, she muttered, mostly to herself. Her guide, a hovering orb named Sebel, projected a faint holographic interface. We are here to learn from you, it said in a soothing voice. Cool. I charge $20 an hour for tutoring or 1 cat video per answer. Sebel hesitated. You find amusement in this situation? Sure, Riley said, grinning. First contact? Alien science bubble? This is the best dream I've had all year. Later, she sat with a team of Zenthri scientists who cautiously asked about humanity. The questions started simple. What is your favorite food? Spaghetti tacos. What do you fear most? Death. Then, gradually, they got more pointed. How do humans process violence? Depends. Therapy. Memes. Revenge movies. Revenge memes. You study horror as entertainment? Yup. Fear's like hot sauce. It hurts, but we keep adding more. They watched in silence as she cheerfully described slasher films, true crime podcasts, and her dad's zombie apocalypse plan. Sebel finally asked, Do you truly expect an apocalypse? Riley shrugged. Not expect, just plan for the worst. Laugh, then do our best anyway. That's kind of our thing. Back in the control room, one of the analysts whispered she believes death is inevitable and still finds joy. That's terrifying. No, said Threx softly. That's powerful. Then the lab was hit. A containment breach triggered a cascading system failure. One of the volatile specimens from a nearby research wing, something psionic and unstable, escaped its chamber. Alarm screamed. Oxygen levels dipped. Fire suppression kicked in. Scientists panicked, trying to lock down the facility. In the chaos, Riley ran toward the breach. She found a Zenthry technician trapped beneath a collapsed stasis column. Plasma hissed from a severed conduit. Nearby, an alien assistant convulsed, its mind overwhelmed by the escaped creature's psychic waves. Riley didn't hesitate. She shoved the column aside with all her weight, dragged the alien free, and used the emergency oxygen canister she'd seen earlier. I watched like 5 seasons of Grey's Anatomy, she muttered, trying CPR on a species with 3 hearts. I think this is the chest area. When security drones arrived, Riley had saved 2 lives, rerouted the fire suppression manually, and somehow uploaded a viral motivational speech into the facility's comm system. It ended with, "You've got weird eyes, but you're cool people. Now get up and fight like the galaxy's watching." After the incident, the council called a closed session. She risked herself for us, Clell argued. With no backup, no armor, no training, pure instinct. She didn't even think it was real, another countered. She acted as if she couldn't lose. That's the point, Clell snapped. She doesn't need certainty. She doesn't even need hope. She chooses to act anyway. That's what makes her dangerous. Commander Threx stood. When we began this mission, we believed humanity to be violent, unstable, reckless. He turned to the projection of Riley now back in her chamber, sketching aliens in her notebook and humming a pop song. We were wrong. Humanity is not defined by destruction. It is defined by refusal, a refusal to be defeated, even by the impossible. He paused. And that, my friends, is far more terrifying. Back in her room, Riley sat cross-legged, finishing her drawing. A Zenthry in armor, wielding a giant spaghetti taco like a sword. She titled it, "My Alien Bestie Saves the Universe." Then she looked up and said, "If this isn't a dream, I hope you guys have Wi-Fi." Because she had stories to tell. The verdict. The Galactic Tribunal Chamber hovered in orbit above a dying star. 12 species sat in a circle of light, each more ancient and evolved than the last. Shapeless energy beings, sentient minerals, and insectoid philosophers whose words took days to finish. In the center, projected in perfect clarity, stood Riley Evans. Or rather, a very confused, pajama-clad Riley Evans gripping a thermos of alien tea and trying not to look impressed by the galaxy's most secretive council chamber. "Okay," she whispered to herself. "Not a dream. Definitely not a dream. Maybe a coma. Or maybe I'm the chosen one. Like, statistically speaking, someone has to be." The council didn't speak so much as resonate. Their thoughts echoed in the air like wind through glass. This human has breached containment protocol. She has altered the course of 2 Zenthry missions. She is smiling, still smiling. Commander Threx stood beside her, rigid with formality. "Esteemed members of the council," he began, "this is not a trial of punishment, but of understanding. Humanity, though primitive, is not what we believed. We came to observe. We found resilience." A crystalline elder chimed. "You found chaos." "She is an individual, not a species," Threx countered. "Yet even so, her actions reveal something vital. Humans do not thrive because they overpower. They thrive because they refuse to break. She mistook your science facility for a game. She survived it like one," Clell added from the shadows. Riley cleared her throat. Loudly, "Hi," she said, waving awkwardly. "So, thanks for not disintegrating me." Yet, the council turned their focus to her. It felt like a solar flare pressing against her mind. "I know I'm not supposed to be here. I know I'm not smart or strong or like a space wizard." She took a breath. But you see my species, right? We're small, soft. We cry a lot. We get weird rashes. And yet we keep going. We build rockets out of metal and willpower. We blow up the sky just to see what's up there. She took a step forward, eyes shining. You look at us and see recklessness. But what you're really seeing is refusal. We refuse to let fear run our lives. We laugh at the dark. We tell ghost stories around campfires and walk straight into the haunted house on purpose. Because somewhere deep down, we believe we can win. Even if the odds are impossible. Silence stretched through the chamber. Then one counselor whispered, "You believe the impossible is winnable." "Yeah," Riley said. "I mean, you built this whole intergalactic empire, right? But haven't any of you tried public high school?" A faint ripple of mental discomfort spread through the chamber. Clell smiled behind his mandibles. The council deliberated for an entire Earth Day. Riley napped in the corner. When they returned, she was doodling a space ferret with laser eyes in the margins of her notebook. Humanity is hereby classified as a level 9 anomalous species, the central entity intoned, not due to threat of force, but due to unpredictable influence. Contact with humanity is to be regulated, not banned. Study may continue. Cultural contamination is expected. Riley blinked. "Wait, is that good?" Threx smiled, his version of a smile, anyway, which looked like a sideways blink. "It means," he said, "you've just become Earth's unofficial ambassador." 2 weeks later, Riley returned home. Sort of. She woke up in her bed, exactly where she'd vanished, except the alarm clock now displayed glyphs that shimmered and reformed into English. Her cat stared at her with a little too much intelligence. A strange cube on her nightstand blinked once, silently, and vanished into the wall. A letter sat beside her pillow. On it, the Zinthari symbol for curiosity that bites. Inside, a note in Threx's neat, angled writing. "You taught us what horror truly is. You taught us what courage is, too. And you owe Clell 3 noodle recipes." T. She smiled, then checked her phone. 1 bar of reception. But new contact had appeared. Intergalactic Chat Beta, Riley EXE Online. That night, she opened a live stream with her usual audience of 32 loyal weirdos. "Hey, so, minor update," she said casually. "I may have been abducted by aliens, and I may now technically be Earth's representative to the galaxy. Also, the stars are way cooler up close." Her followers laughed, thinking it was a bit. No one believed her, which made it even better. "Anyway," she said, "let's talk about why horror movies are actually optimism in disguise." Above Earth, the Varkanath hovered in geosynchronous orbit, cloaked and silent. Threx watched the planet spin. "She's already changing the galactic net," Clell said, approaching. Threx nodded. 1 meme at a time. They watched as Riley's face appeared on an encrypted feed, smiling, sketching, explaining human resilience to an audience of species that had once feared her kind. Now they were listening, because the scariest thing about humans wasn't their weapons. It was their hope. Relentless, illogical, unbreakable. And that, in the end, was what made them truly terrifying.